Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Locked On Seminoles, brought to you by NetSuite, your business, but more visible. And speaking of more visible, today we're going to bring you a better look at what is still out there in the transfer portal in the form of Jared Verse, FCS guy, possible D1 talent, killed it at Albany, and we're going to talk about what we think he could bring to the Florida State Seminoles as the number 6th overall transfer rated recruit. We are then going to talk about someone who just got on campus, AJ Duffy, 4-star quarterback commit, has officially enrolled at Florida State, coming off of a great all-star game at the Under Armour All-Star. And we're going to keep rolling with the quarterback themes. We are going to talk about what if Jordan Travis has gotten hurt this season, to underscore the point of why we need a transfer quarterback in the backup position, because we got a lot of questions about that. If you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. If you're on the podcast, you already know what to do. Make sure you follow us so we pop to the top of your queue every single day, Monday through Friday. Guys, we're Locked On Seminoles. Let's get this thing started. Driz, roll that video.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Folks, however you choose to listen to us or watch us, we thank you for being here. Without you, we don't get to do what we do. We are 3 Florida State alumni. We spent a collective, I've done this math before, I think Dave, you were there for law school
7.
too. So collective 18 and a half years at Florida State together. It means a lot to us, and we've now gotten to cover the team for almost 2 years now. I now have a 2020, 2021, and 2022 folder of Locked On Seminoles and Noles Anonymous stuff, which is pretty exciting. So if it's your first episode, you picked a great one, because who doesn't love some quarterback talk? Gentlemen, let's start with the defensive side of the ball, though. We're talking about Jared Verse. Drake, you were the one that flagged this one. Give us a breakdown. Who is Jared Verse, and why should we care?
Jared Verse is probably the number 1 defensive end transfer target right now, currently available. For those of you who don't know, Jared Verse is a defensive end over at the University of Albany. Now, I know Albany is an FCS school, but however, I want to say for the spring, he nearly had double-digit sacks. Now, I know we kind of are a little more wary about the FCS transfer because it comes to, for example, we got Marcus Cushney last year, who we kind of see now is not all it was cracked up to be. And actually, I think he also entered the transfer portal a few weeks ago. But versus someone who is very similar to a Khalil Mack to me. And I'm not saying he's going to be Khalil Mack. What I'm saying is he typically has the same size, similar speed, but he's someone that you can see actually dominates at his entire level of where he's playing at. Whereas Khalil Mack did the same thing at the University of Buffalo. Now, Dave, I think you know a little more actually about him than I do. So, you have anything to add?
Yeah. So, even though he's at Albany, he's 6'4", 247. That's the size you want in defensive end. And he's going to have 3 years of eligibility left. That's a big deal, because it's not just a one and done like Jermaine Johnson. Not that he's going to be him, or we should even expect anywhere close to that. But he has time to develop here, in addition to potentially being able to impact early. Like Drake said, had double-digit tackles for loss, almost double-digit sacks. We need help at that position now with both of our defensive ends gone. Keir Thomas gone, Jermaine Johnson gone. What's left? As the number 1 defensive end in the transfer portal, that would be a big deal if this staff is able to close on him.
Yeah, and this would be a big one. Now, what I like is this quote right here I'm reading. This is a quote from Verse. He said, "Going further into the process, no school's bringing me in for depth. If you're bringing me in to be a third down pass rusher, I'm not really talking to you. The school I'm talking to wants me as a 4-down player. Important factors are the coaches and how they can help me grow as a player and how I can help the program. I want to play and compete for a national championship, schools that can help me do that." So there's a lot to unpack there, right? None of the schools he's talking to, by the way, because it looks like his top 3 that he got it down to is Tennessee, Florida State, and Miami. Sorry, none of those are going to compete for national championships during his 3 years. However, he talked about how our staff explained the Jermaine Johnson situation, the Keir Thomas situation. He said they just came out of the situation that I'm literally in. 2 transfer guys, they played like 1 year, and they're about to go to the league and get drafted. So that's exciting that we have that relatable situation and that the staff is able to communicate that to him. Oklahoma did it twice with quarterbacks, but I want to caution people against expecting another Jermaine Johnson in the portal.
It's not going to
just-
happen.
It's unrealistic.
I mean, look, Jermaine Johnson is a guy who honestly never should have come to Florida State. We were blessed by the angels of football to have him come here because he kind of slipped under the radar, right? That guy probably starts at 128 FBS programs, and Georgia was one he just couldn't, and we got lucky there. Don't expect a guy to be that, but we said this a couple weeks ago. If we can moneyball close to the same production, get a guy like Verse who can play all three downs, who's talented. We got that linebacker. What's his name again, Drake, from UCF last night?
Tatum Bethune.
He gets really good pressure according to PFF. He mostly comes off the edge, not as a hand in the dirt lineman, but as a backer. Get one or two more pieces. You hopefully still have Lovett on the inside. We can create a similar paradigm to our defense from last year. And if we can do that, I don't see us taking a big regression.
And to add to that, the Jermaine Johnson effect, we can't sing his praises enough because it hasn't ended just at his ridiculous on-field performance. That dude is still helping Florida State recruit. If you go to his Twitter, just today, he was hyping up Chance Main as a defensive end target, saying, we want him here even though he's from a small school. Jermaine Johnson is absolutely actively helping us try to land recruits, even though he doesn't get any benefit from doing that. He's leaving. He's going to go make a ton of money as a first-round pick, and yet he's doing it.
And that's the big part of the appeal for Verse to come in, actually, for, because he sees what Jermaine Johnson did and Kier Thomas did, like, as a whole, basically being able to elevate their draft stock so high, because before coming into the year, Jermaine Johnson was just a role player. Kier Thomas was like a utility piece for South Carolina before he came over here as well. So it's really nice to have those two examples to kind of look at and see what Verse can be if he does come here. My only concern is that we seen the staff the past month and a half be unable to close. None of them can close. So hopefully we should hopefully hear something from tonight. If he announces tonight while we're recording this, it should be us. If this goes into Thursday, Friday, even Saturday by the weekend, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes over Tennessee or maybe even Dark Horse and LSU. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's fair to say they can't close. I don't think they've closed on the players we've necessarily wanted them to, but they've closed on some players, right? They were able to get Pittman despite the offensive coordinator who was recruiting him leaving. We just got a linebacker, one of the best G5 linebackers in the transfer portal last night, guy with 105 tackles. So they've done some closing. They just haven't been closing on the ones
high profile
maybe
guys
we want to see. And I want to take a quick listener question real quick, and then we'll go to AJ Duffy just because it's very topical. It came up yesterday on the video of why are we putting such an emphasis on recruiting right now? The portal's still open. And I want to point out that Florida State starts classes this week. I believe they start tomorrow, today as you're listening to it, which means that they have about a week of drop ad.
Yep.
Remember, I know there's NIL. I know there's transfer portal stuff. They're still students. They still have to go to school. So if they don't announce within the next couple days, they're not going to go to Florida State in the spring. In some positions, a guy can come in the summer, but when we're especially talking about quarterback like we're going to, they needed to be committed already. And I'll leave it at that because if they're not enrolled now, I don't really think they're going to contribute much next year, except maybe as a rotational piece. So anyway, folks, before we move on, I want to tell you about NetSuite. NetSuite is the best way to gain visibility into your business. If you're going to run a successful business, you have to know everything about it. You have to have your finances, your HR, your planning, your budgeting, all of that in order if you're going to hit your growth goals. And NetSuite helps you put all that in one place. It can automate your processes and help you close your books in no time while staying ahead of your competition. Over 28,000 businesses already use NetSuite. For the new year, NetSuite has a new financing program for those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/LOCKED. So head to netsuite.com/locked for this special one-of-a-kind financing offer. All right, well, AJ Duffy threw the ball around a little bit this past weekend. He was at the Under Armour game, 2 touchdowns.
Taking a step back from that, the first 2 days of practice, he was the number one quarterback at the Under Armour practices.
Yeah, more importantly, he won the shootout competition for accuracy. I think he had 44 points. The second place finisher, I think, was Connor Wagman, the Texas A&M QB commit. He actually had 14. So he beat the next person by 30 points by accuracy standards, which is something I care a lot more about than a game they don't care about practicing-wise.
Yeah, what's encouraging about him is the development we've seen over the past 2 years. And if y'all have listened to this before, you know I hammer year-to-year development. I like to see it. That tells me if a kid's going to get better when he's at our school, if he's gotten better at other schools. And clearly IMG Academy worked for him because I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? I feel like he was kind of a, I don't want to say
Don't say
fringe
Malik.
4-star, but he was
Okay.
kind of a 4-star based on like, athletic talent and just kind of like, yeah, he looks like he could be good one day, not necessarily because he was a polished passer or a great QB. And now we're kind of seeing him become a more polished quarterback, which is exciting. That being said, I don't know. He's just not ready to start next year. So I really
You don't like freshman QBs, man, because you don't know what they are yet, which is completely and totally legitimate because they don't have that much tape. And basically, you have a lot more bust go to college than anything else.
Well, they're
But
18 years old.
yeah, they're 18 years old. Exactly. And like, no one remembers the kid that's, scored like 1,000 touchdowns and 1,000 yards when back in high school, except for that kid in their hometown. But I think
Well, and when he reminds you.
True. Watch Friday Night Lights. That was probably one of my favorite movies. But I think with Duffy, he actually did show talent-wise back at Rancho Verde, which is the school he actually had back in California before he moved to IMG. The thing with IMG is that's a team that's, as you said, is just solely dedicated to football, solely dedicated. Like, that's what their bread and butter is. It's also really hard when you have someone as in Stacey Gage, a 2024 running back, who quite honestly could play in college right now. And they're more run focused as well. We said that we've been saying the same thing with Oregon right now with Anthony Brown. So he wasn't asked to do all that much, all that extra. So that's kind of why at the end of the year, when he had the thumb injury, or I think it was the finger injury, he's like, you know what? I wasn't really playing that much anyways. And you've been to boarding school. I think you talked about like the other day, where it's like once you're not there for what
Really
you need
boring.
to be, it gets really boring. So
Yeah, we're going to get into this more in the next segment, ironically. But if we're talking about whether AJ Duffy's ready to play this year, we have a big problem because we can't do the James Blackman thing to another quarterback. Like, Blackman was best his first year and got worse every year because of the situation he was put in.
I mean, look at Bo Nix. Bo Nix was SEC Freshman of the Year, and he's not going to even finish his career at Auburn. Like,
Yeah.
You're not setting a kid up for success to send him out as an 18-year-old kid. Plain and simple. I don't care who you are. No, maybe one in a decade guys is ready to play as an 18-year-old freshman at the Power 5 level. Jameis redshirted. Joe Burrow wasn't good until he was a redshirt junior or true junior. I forget which one, but he was 3 years into college before he had his breakout. Tua had one really good half as a true freshman, and then he broke out as a redshirt freshman. Johnny Manziel, redshirt freshman. Quarterbacks are not usually day one starters because A, they just haven't gotten used to the speed of the college game. You're throwing, not only are you throwing as faster defenders, you're throwing to faster receivers. So like your target's moving faster and the guys covering them are moving faster. The plays are more complex and you're probably learning a much larger book. So added complexity, added number of plays, that alone, and then make the game more physically challenging. It's not a good situation for a kid that was in high school less than a year ago.
Yeah, and if there's going to be anywhere you can go to high school, probably that's going to prepare you to start early, it's going to be IMG, right? Like, that's basically a college program they're trying to run there. But here's the thing with Duffy. Clearly got a lot of arm talent. Accurate, which is something we need here. But his junior season didn't play because of the pandemic. There was no season. Last year, he missed some games due to injury. So you're talking the last time he played a full season of football was 2019. And like Drake said, that was in California. Ridiculous numbers, completed like 71% of his passes, like 26 touchdowns to 7 picks. Great thrower as a sophomore. As a senior, completed 64% of his passes. But, I don't know, man. If, again, we're going to get to this next, but if AJ Duffy's name is coming up as a potential player next year to start, that's a problem. And that means our season's not going the way that we hoped it would.
Yeah, and I think our fan base for some reason has decided they hate Jordan Travis, which is an interesting dynamic because he's the only reason. We have different theories on this, but probably the only reason you won any football games this year was a mixture of Jordan Travis, Jayshon Corbin, and your defensive ends. So
yeah,
without
pretty
those
much.
4 guys, you don't win a single football game this year. And take out one of those 4, you maybe win 2, and take out 2 of 4, you probably are down to 1. Anyway, it's not that we don't like AJ Duffy. We're just trying to say don't expect him to compete with Jordan to start. And if Jordan gets hurt, you really don't want him out there. I mean, one last stat I just pulled up. It's hard to find a number, but Mater Dei High School and St. John Bosco are the 2 absolute powerhouses in Southern California, right? They're the Aquinas of Southern California. Some would argue better, but those 2 schools over the past 5 years put 130 kids in college. So how many kids are on a given high school varsity roster? Like 60? So they have, between the 2 of them, 120 kids per year on the team. My point is those two schools, two of the best high schools in the country, collectively send like a quarter of their kids to college total. That's not Power 5. That's not D1. So even at IMG, to your point, Dave, he's playing against a defense that maybe has 2 D1 starters on it, maybe 4 kids on it that will eventually start at the D1 level on any given Friday. It's just not the same game. So anyway, I want to talk about this fun hypothetical you guys have cooked up. I like when Dave and Drake get together, put their heads together, and decide that we're gonna take a trip down misery lane. So walk me through this again. What is our scenario here? Is it like,
It's simply,
when does it happen?
It's simply is this. What if the 2021 season, Jordan Travis is unavailable, as in he's neither on the roster because there were rumors. Doesn't play
Injured.
at all.
Yeah, doesn't play at all.
Injured.
Not one
Exactly.
snap.
Not one single snap.
Okay. All right. Well, let me give the people some good news first. And you guys, it's the Get Upside app. The Get Upside app, I just started using it. I really enjoy it. It's really simple. You download Get Upside. You use promo code SCORE when you make your account. Next time you go to fill up, look at your Get Upside app. It'll tell you which gas stations are offering you cash back. You get your gas there. You get cash back. You can cash out whenever, get a gift card, get it put on your account. Doesn't matter. So use the Get Upside app, promo code SCORE, and literally get cash back for gas that you're going to buy anyway. It's literally free money. And when you cash out, you get it in your pocket, go double it. And the quickest way to do that, betonline.ag. There's lots of sports going on, folks. We're about to have the NFL playoffs, MLB starting up in a mere 2 months. We got basketball, the regular season's in full swing with conference play. All kinds of stuff is going on. So get lines on whatever sport you care about or whatever sport you don't want to care about, but just want to liven up your evening at betonline.ag. And when you make your account, use promo code LOCKEDON. Anyway, folks, I guess this is just kind of one of those fun offseason hypotheticals. If you're here at Locked On Seminoles, you will get used to offseason hypotheticals. We have football coming up in a very short 3 months. We're going to play one game against ourselves, and then 4 more months after that, the season starts. So we've got a lot of daily episodes to get to know each other and to get to talk about the previous season. Just say, hey, what could have gone differently? Because coulda, shoulda, woulda is what we do. So let's talk about Jordan Travis never coming in. Let's say that preseason injury is more serious and he's unavailable. I like this because it sounds like we're assuming Milton is healthy the whole year.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's leave it that way.
Okay. So then I have a couple questions, right? One, do you guys think Milton plays the entire year?
Plays or starts?
Start like is your QB1 the entire year? 2,
I think
what
to an
do you
extent.
think it does to the run game when you don't have Jordan Travis's legs to open up holes through motion and schemes? And 3, what big plays do you think definitely don't happen with someone under center? I know that's a little weird because the whole game would be different, but humor me.
So for me, with Mackenzie Milton, I think he would start up until, what was his last game this year? Wake Forest, I think was his last game he played overall. Or was it Louisville?
Yeah. Oh, started. Yeah. No, Louisville was his last start. I think Louisville was after Wake Forest, right?
I actually legitimately think we still go with that path because even with a somewhat healthy Jordan Travis, Mike Norvell kind of stuck with him until the wheels kind of fell off against Louisville. Now, to me, I think we see Joe Purdy earlier and often. And I mainly say that primarily because I think that's kind of where the thing was. I think with Joe Purdy, we all kind of knew he wasn't particularly, had a great handle on the playbook as a whole. I think he probably would actually be starting. In my perspective, I think we probably would win maybe one less game. We probably would definitely lose the Miami game, but I think we would win the NC State game. I think that's a kind of a trade-off with that. So to me, we go into an offseason right now where you're having the bad question again of whether do we go back to Jordan Travis because he can't stay healthy, or do we go with Mike Norvell's first prize QB and kind of hold off until AJ Duff can come in?
Yeah, and Max,
I think you definitely also to rebuttal that. I think you also lose Syracuse without Jordan Travis for sure. Maybe the game plays differently, so it's kind of a tough one to quantify. But
yeah, that one's a toss-up because that legit. Yeah,
he won Syracuse for you, and you don't. I don't think you don't beat UNC with Mackenzie Milton either because I think we beat UNC. That was. I mean, Travis had a great passing game, but that one was predicated on them really selling out for his legs and him just having a great day with his arm.
I'm not entertaining any reasonable arguments for UNC. You know my rule with UNC. Mac Brown will never win.
Mac Brown can't beat Florida State. I know. Yeah, Honestly, Tate Rodemaker probably starts that game and goes 11 for 12 for 4 touchdowns, because it's UNC and Mac Brown just doesn't. But yeah, I think saying we lose one more, or we only lose
Maybe
one more
two.
with Miller.
Maybe two.
I think it's 3.
Yeah, I think 1 or
I think
2.
it's 3 or 4. But anyway, but
You know what else happens if
we win
Jordan
5?
Travis? To answer another one of your questions, if Jordan Travis doesn't start this year, Jayshon Corbin's coming back for 2022 because he doesn't have the year he had, and the running game probably implodes. I don't even think we learn the name Tucson or Trayshawn Ward's name because Jordan Travis being a threat to run it every single play opened up the running game. It's weird. We didn't open up the running game with the passing game. We opened up the running game with the running game. But
that's 100% right.
But if Mackenzie Milton, you saw it, they tried to run like a couple times with Mackenzie Milton, and we all held our breath and we're like, is his knee going to fall off? And then you didn't really have to worry about it. And guess what else you didn't have to worry about? Him throwing it deep. So it was either a short slant or they're going to run the ball. And 8 guys in the box. Yeah, we're not having a good run game this year. And, we said, maybe that's 1 or 2 games different. Who the hell are we beating on the schedule if we don't have a run game and we don't have a deep pass game?
I was going to say that's the other critical piece is that you cannot run the ball without Jordan because your offensive line was able to block on one side of the line. Or sometimes they would pull the left side to the right side and then kind of be able to block on the right side. But they were not able to consistently open up holes for you. Most of your running was done through misdirection. And I'll answer the big play question. I think those big plays to Douglas and Toafili, anything involving motion and a wheel route doesn't work without Jordan back there because I said this last year when we beat NC State, or 2020 when we beat him is what I mean. He's the only quarterback in the country, it seems like, that can run play action with himself by catching the ball, faking a run, and a defense legitimately has to freeze. So I don't know. Now, I also am a little... this is no hate to Mackenzie Milton. I appreciate what he did. He tried really hard.
Sure.
I think he was a great culture builder in the locker room. I think the fact that you have Tate Rodemaker instead of Jeff Sims on your roster is a bust of all busts. I mean, not that Jeff Sims is great by any means. Like, Jeff Collins is probably about to get fired at Georgia Tech, and I don't care how many former Florida State Heisman winners he brings in to coach his kids. They're not going to be any good. But I want to think that Norvell and Dillingham maybe would have figured something out because I look at how few points this defense gave up this year. And I don't like, you know what I mean? It's like you only had to score like 28 points to win most of your games. And I kind of wonder if you knew you had Rodemaker from the start. It was different against Florida because he had to go in. If you knew you had Rodemaker or you knew you had KZ and that's all you had, I wonder if they couldn't find a way to score 28 points 5 or 6 times.
And that kind of leads me to believe too also because we all know that the playbook is not the exact playbook that Norvell wants to run with Jordan Travis at quarterback. It's just not. Sure. And we see that Norvell is very hesitant. He's not very great kind of like, adjusting to that. I mean, over the course of the year, kind of like resigned to just calling more Jordan Travis centric plays. But if you have someone like a somewhat healthy, like a healthy KZ, healthy by his standards, Tate Rodemaker, or even Chubbo right now, who we saw at the UMass game when he kind of did dial that stuff up. He was like, 5 for 5, nearly 100 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like
Louisville last year too. I mean, he has an arm.
Yeah, he has the arm. So I wonder, because a lot of the stuff that I had a problem with was Notre Dame play calling, Clemson play calling. Was the play calling at the end of those games? I kind of felt they were coaching not to lose, or also coaching not to lose by more than 10. Like the Notre Dame game, you both saw me that day. I was furious about how that game ended. So I would want to know. I think the play calling would be overall extremely different, and we would kind of know a little more what Norvell wants to run. So we might actually have more of a kind of how we feel about him overall as a play caller, because we still kind of don't know what Norvell kind of wants to run overall.
Yeah, but I don't know if he has the opportunity to run what he wants to run with those guys in successfully, because I think if he had the opportunity, if those guys could run the offense Norvell wants to run successfully, why wouldn't he have them in instead of Travis to run it? You know what I mean? Because then under that theory, he would win a pretty similar number of games. So the fact that he is begrudgingly choosing to start Jordan Travis tells me those guys are not capable of doing what he wants them to do.
Or maybe Jordan actually gives him the better chance to win, not because of the play calling. You know what I'm saying?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I think it's a little bit
because we're all here. We're all probably in the same consensus right now. We need to win 8 games next year.
Yeah,
right.
At least 7, but probably 8. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Max,
think if you win 7, we can talk about this later. But if you
I'm
win
gonna
7,
give
you're in trouble.
one more piece of credit to Jordan Travis here, and it'll be the last
Sure.
thing I have to say on it.
Pile it on.
You said we only had to score about 28 points because of the defense.
Yeah.
Well, I think Jordan Travis actually probably made the defense's job easier. Because even on a lot of the drives we didn't score with him, he would still have a couple plays where he broke free for a first down. It would flip the field, change field position. It's funny, we talked yesterday. The 2013 team, our offense was so good. So was our defense. They made each other better. In this case, in this last year, our offense wasn't great. But to an extent, especially in the second half of the year, Jordan Travis did help the defense in terms of making their job not so difficult, starting with short fields. Our special teams screwed that up a lot.
Regularly.
But Jordan Travis helped them in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely elevated the team. The reality is he was QB1 for a reason. I think to get back to the question of what happens if you don't have him, it makes us think of what happens if you don't have a capable backup this year. And I think that you're in for a very long season. I think that
Agreed.
Yep.
if it would be very, I put it this way. In 2014, 15, whatever it was, 17? When was Frenchie hurt against Alabama?
17.
2017,
First year
you
loss
started
rate.
out as the number 3 team in the country. Yeah, well, you started out as the number 3 team in the country. You were picked by a lot of people to, if you could get past Clemson, like people were literally saying, you get a mulligan. Like you can go lose to Alabama, and as long as you win out, you're probably going to the playoff. And we finished with 6 wins by the skin of our teeth, rescheduling whoever it was. We've looked this up, and I've already forgotten. To
ULM.
get us ULM to no, that's who we played in the bowl game. I thought.
No, a place other than missing the bowl game.
Oh, that's right. Whatever. Who cares?
Yeah, ULM. That was the listener. He corrected us. For
That's
that
right. That's right. Appreciate that. So yeah,
Shout out.
you had to do that to barely get to a bowl game. So look at where you finished there relative to expectations, right? Like 5 to 6 wins short of expectations. So I don't think it's unreasonable to say if you lose Jordan Travis this year, you probably finish at 50% of expectations, which is 3.5 wins, with, in my opinion, 3 being more likely than 4. That's a scary prospect, and it is, while these games are fun to play, it's a stark reminder that this staff has not landed a transfer quarterback before the enrollment for spring, so we're not going to have one in the spring. QB1 will be Jordan Travis, with AJ Duffy and Tate Rodemaker competing for second-team reps, maybe Geno English sneaking in there. They are not going to get more than 1 linebacker on campus for the spring. They are maybe going to get Verse if he can get into school in time. He's probably going to announce tonight. I know he's from Albany, where they start school probably in like March or however they do it up in, Yankeeville. But it's disappointing, and I don't know. But it's also sprinkled with the fact that, like, to your point, Dave, we might get a top 10 class as a 5-win team. So I don't know what the hell to make of this. I don't know how to feel. Why don't you guys tell me in the comments how to feel? But I'm going to stop making y'all my therapist, and I'm going to go back to being your favorite podcast host with my co-host Drake, my co-host Dave, and together we are Locked On Seminoles. Thanks for stopping by. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take care, everybody.
Go Noles.